Welcome to the first episode of Tomahawk Talk. This is a podcast devoted to your 2018 National League East champs, the Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Kale, Diestel, and along with me is my co-host, Turner Mark Walter.
Awesome. How's it going, everybody? My name's Turner, and I'm currently a Braves writer for the Atlanta Sports page, along with Kale, who's the lead writer for the Braves. I'm a freshman at Georgia State University, majoring in journalism, and I've lived around the Kennesaw and Ackworth area pretty much my entire life. So I've been a Braves fan ever since I started watching baseball, and I just feel like I'm going to really enjoy doing this podcast.
All right, guys. Like I said, I'm Kale. I'm a freshman up at the University of Georgia. I've lived my whole life down in St. Simons Island, Georgia. So I've been a Braves fan for as long as I can remember. And let's get started into our first episode.
Yes, sir.
In our first episode, we are going to be covering the current free agency and trade rumors associated with the Braves. And man, are there a lot of those.
Oh man, with the winter meetings just getting wrapped up, man, all it was just the past week has just been constant talks, rumors. Is this deal gonna happen? Is this deal gonna happen? Where's Harper Machado gonna sign? I mean, it's just been awesome getting to listen and hear all this stuff.
Man, I this is the best part of the year. I'm in like a baseball depression right now with all these rumors and dreams of what could be. Man, it's one of the best times of the baseball season right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well,
Awesome.
All right. So how about we go ahead and get started with our two headline signings of 2018-2019 offseason. Turner, you want to get it?
Sure. Awesome. So first one we have was Brian McCann. That was the first reported signing, and he signed for just a 1-year, $2 million deal. You know, bringing back Brian McCann. You know, he played in Atlanta for so long. You know, he was a big part of that team that could have won the World Series. You know, with what we had with the Uptons and everything. You know, we bring him back, the hometown guy. He's excited to be back, and I'm excited for him to be back. He's playing where he grew up, and yeah, I can't wait to see what he can do for the team.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of talk about Brian McCann had higher money out there for him. However, he took a lesser deal to come home. And more than likely, with it being a 1-year deal, this is probably his last season.
Yeah.
Which I actually see as a bridge leading towards the possible bringing up of William Contreras next season. We'll talk about that later on. But Brian McCann, I love this signing. It's cheap. It's for 1 year. It's not a high risk. I mean, I think there's no risk at all involved in it. 1 year, $2 million. Yes, he was injured for most of last season, I believe. Yeah, he only played 63 games with a meniscus injury. However, he was at Houston. He won a World Series with Houston. I believe just with the veteran leadership he can bring to help with our young pitchers that we have, as he used to catch for Smoltz. And he caught Verlander. He caught Garrett Cole, Dallas Keuchel, all these veteran amazing pitchers that he's caught for. I believe he'll be able to come to Atlanta and be able to show the younglings how it's done in the majors and try to guide them along the line.
For sure. I mean, we saw how we did in the postseason this past season. I mean, we were playing up against the Dodgers. I mean, they were the heavy favorites, but I mean, it still looked like our guys didn't like come up to the spotlight, like shine like they should have. They were struggling offensively. But I feel like if we get a guy like Brian McCann in there, he won the World Series with the Astros and they won in 2017. I mean, he's played in the postseason probably, I think, more times a lot recently, so I feel like with him having that playoff experience, he can help us get further in the postseason.
Yeah, just like I said, that veteran leadership is going to help out a lot, and I know that's one thing that Brian Snitker talked about. What he can't wait for the 2019 season is now that he's got all his guys have the postseason experience, and I'll bring in a veteran like Brian McCann who also has that. Will only help our lineup out and help our team out when it gets time for the postseason.
Exactly.
But going off of that, so right now our catching platoon, we got a platoon. Everybody was hoping we were going to be out on the market, possibly for Wilson Ramos, a Yasmani Grandal, a Robinson Chirinos. But instead, we settle for we get Brian McCann, 1 year, $2 million deal, cheap, to pair along with our veteran catcher, Tyler Flowers. Right now, I know a lot of people were hoping for the home run signing, and I was too. But I'm not too worried about this platoon we got going on. Two veterans, league average catchers. There's not a lot of catchers out there that are going to hit 300 for 20 home runs. Honestly, I mean, I see I know we can improve our catching platoon,
Yeah, we
but at
can.
the same time, it's not something to be upset about and say, "Hey, this is awful. We can't do anything with it."
Exactly, for sure. I mean, with the way our catching platoon looking out, it's not looking terrible. I mean, it for sure could be better. I mean, we've been hearing a lot of rumors about JT Realmuto. I mean, I saw a tweet yesterday. It was like this JT Realmuto like opening day, like what team he's going to be on, like odds, and the highest that there were two teams in the NL East who had 35% of the Braves and the Mets. So it's looking like either those two teams are going to be the likely suitors. I mean, we get him in there. Our catching platoon is probably set for the next couple years with how much years of Realmuto has under control. So I mean, we'll talk more about that later once we discuss more of the rumors, but it's right now we shouldn't be too worried, but we can definitely improve.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I mean, in 2017, Tyler Flowers hit 281 with 12 homers. That's not bad at all, right
No.
there. That's amazing. And he had a 378 on base percentage. I mean,
Ooh.
what more can you ask for a catcher? Exactly.
Ooh.
Last season, if you remember at the beginning of the season, first game of the season, he
Mhm.
pulled a hammy and was out for the majority of the year, and he just never fully recovered.
Yeah, he was playing on that the pretty much after he came back, he was pretty much playing on a bad leg the entire year, which led to the decline of some of his stats from 2017. But I feel like if he can play healthy, he can stay in there. I mean, who's to say he can't put up near those numbers that he did in 2017?
Exactly, exactly. So I'm not too worried about our catching platoon. I think, especially with the intangibles that they bring,
Mhm.
is going to outweigh the bad, outweigh the stats and stuff like that.
I
But at the
think
same
so.
time, I'm still not expecting a bad season from either of them.
No, not at all.
Um,
Not at all.
but hey, let's move on to the headline signing, the first
Yeah.
major signing for all of Major League Baseball.
Pretty much,
Josh
yeah.
Donaldson, baby.
Oh
We
man.
bring in a former MVP on a 1 year, 23 million. I know it's a lot of money. At the same time, there's low risk.
Yes, because it's just a 1 year deal.
It's a 1 year deal. He's coming in with his I mean, I don't know what more you can say about the man.
Mm.
To I mean, he had in 2015 and 2016, he had an 8.7 WAR and a 7.6 WAR. That is amazing.
Yes. Also, like starting from 2015, his MVP season in total WAR throughout the MLB up to last season, 2018, the only person with a higher total WAR than John Donaldson is Mike Trout. So
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't understand how you can hate this move at all.
no, you can't. I mean,
It's
I
only
understand.
gonna yeah, I understand that everybody's like Johan had a great year, but at the same time, I understand what they're doing with
Exactly.
Johan.
Yeah. See, with Donaldson, I know people are saying 23 million for 1 year is risky with a guy who's coming off a injury-riddled season last year. I mean, he only played, I don't know, he didn't play more than 60 or 70 games last
Yeah,
year with the
he played 52.
he played 52, yeah. So his stats are obviously lower from that because he's playing off of an injury. But I feel like, I mean, as long as he can stay healthy, I mean, he's going to be getting most of the plate appearances in our lineup for sure. So I don't feel like he could be doing any bad within our lineup. I don't see this move being bad to anybody else on the team, like helping them develop. I don't see it being bad at all.
I mean, yeah, um, exactly. Even if, say, he does have a bad season, he's not going to come back to his former form, which I don't believe. I don't believe that at all. I
No,
think
I
he
don't
will get back
either.
to his former form. However, if he does have to get benched, you have Johan Camargo to
Exactly.
come up to replace him, who batted 272 last year with 19 homers.
Jeez, I mean,
I mean,
he had an insane second half after the All-Star break. The one game I remember particularly was when we were playing the Diamondbacks in Arizona, and he hit like a 3-run bomb to take the lead in the ninth. I mean, it's just like we could see that in the future from him. So,
yeah, I mean, his second half of the season, he batted 295 with 10 homers.
jeez.
So, I mean, you're pretty much a 300 hitter with
Hmm.
10 home runs in the second half. I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, that's just amazing. But at the
Hmm.
same time, it raises the question, which I understand, is what are we going to do with Johan? Or even
Exactly.
more so, what are we going to do with Dansby? Your take?
Okay, so how I feel about this, I Personally, I've already heard Mark Bowman was saying that they plan on using Dansby as the primary shortstop next year, and they'll have Johan as sort of a super utility guy. I mean, filling in for at shortstop for Dansby, at third for Donaldson, and second at Albies. I mean, who knows? Well, Johan can go play in the outfield. Well, I mean, he's had outfield experience before. I mean, we'll see if we move him to the outfield. I doubt that we will. We'll probably just keep him in the infield, but. Honestly, I kind of like having Dansby start off at the beginning of the year. I mean, he was playing with a hurt wrist pretty
I
much
think it's like
towards
a
the end of the
torn
year.
ligament in his
Yeah,
wrist and his
yeah,
thumb area.
and he was out all the postseason and the last couple weeks of the regular season. I mean, he got surgery to help clear it up, so maybe see how he goes with the new wrist. If he can hit like how he was hitting at the beginning of last year, I mean, I kind of
Yeah, he
like
was
having
super hot at the
Dansby in.
beginning.
Yeah, I mean, and with the case defensively, I mean, Dansby is, in my opinion, he showed us incredible web gems all last year. He was probably top five defensive shortstops in the whole MLB last year. I mean, we can't go wrong with that defensively. But if we put Johan in, I mean, we probably get more offense, but and less defense. It's just kind of like a give and take. What pick your poison type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing with Dansby is if he can just become a league average hitter, which
Hmm.
is batting, in my opinion, 250 or higher, he would be such a more valuable piece into our lineup. And
Exactly.
I personally believe he can get back to that form, but he's like you said, he's had wrist injuries, he's had thumbs injuries. I
Hmm.
mean, he was never fully healthy last season. And I'm not trying to
Exactly.
make excuses for him because I know he had a bad 2017 too, but I think there may be something to come that we haven't seen yet that the
Yeah,
Braves believe in him.
I sure
Um,
hope so.
I mean, looking at it last season, the first half, like you were talking about, he
Hmm.
batted 253, league
Okay,
average
that's league
with 7
average,
home runs.
and he was incredible for us during that time.
And then in second half, he only batted 213,
Mm,
and he still hit 7 home runs,
true.
but he wasn't getting on for average.
Mm,
That's my big deal.
that's
But
true.
I agree with you. I want to see Dansby start off at short, and if something happens to him, put Johan in. If he isn't performing, put Johan in. I
Hmm.
mean, honestly, I don't know. I mean, Dansby was our shortstop, and we still made the playoffs.
It's true.
So I mean, you can't really say, "Hey, he's why we're not making the playoffs." Well, he was your full time shortstop last season, and y'all and we made the playoffs.
Exactly. And
So
like the Josh Donaldson signing too, just think about how much depth just got added to our bench. I mean, we
exactly,
have Johan Camargo, he had a career year last year. I mean, we had Culberson, who was probably our most clutch hitter all last year. He hit like three or four walk-off bombs for us.
something like that. It's
Something like that. It
ridiculous.
was crazy. Two in the same week. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's just with Lucas Duda, we signed him too. He was good. He had a couple home runs, I'm pretty sure, with us. And I mean, I you see these World Series teams, they have these insane depth benches, and I feel like we're positioning ourselves
that's what
exactly
I
in
was
that
about
kind
to
of
say.
way.
I think the Dodgers, when we were playing them, at one point had Cody Bellinger and
Mm-hmm.
Jock Peterson on their bench,
Yep.
and I'm like, this is getting ridiculous.
Ex-
These two guys could be the cleanup hitter or the 3-hole hitter for any other team, but yet they're on the bench right now.
Yep. Starting in the playoffs, they're on the bench, pinch
It's
hitting.
ridiculous. But I mean, but at the same time, that's what I would like to see the Braves is to add that bench depth. And this
Mhm.
Josh Donaldson signing could lead us to that.
Exactly.
And it's
100%.
a 1-year deal. Hey, if he doesn't work out or if he thinks he can get more, boom, let him go. Bring up Austin Riley if we don't
Sure.
trade him, or
Go
even
ahead.
move Johan back.
Yeah.
I mean, or heck, I
We
mean,
have
if he
so
wants
many
to
different
resign,
options.
I mean, if Josh Donaldson wants to resign, let's do it.
Yeah.
Why
Depending on
not?
the kind of year he has. Yeah.
If he has a good season, then why not?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but hey, but enough about Johan and Dansby. Let's figure this age-old question out. Where's Josh Donaldson, in your opinion, gonna hit in the lineup?
Okay, so I really like him at the two hole, like AA said. He like I am 100% with the motion of having your best hitters get the most plate appearances as possible. So if you have Acuna, Donaldson, and Freeman at the 1, 2, 3, I mean, there's just nothing going to be but production. I mean, Freeman's probably been one of the top five best hitters since 2013. probably overall in the MLB. I mean, him hitting
Yeah,
three, he's getting runs in, he's driving in everything. I mean, with the way he was playing at the beginning of the year in 2018, he was looking like a front runner for MVP. I mean,
he was.
he was
Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, he did definitely cool off in the second half, but I mean, he still had ridiculous numbers even with that cool off. So,
exactly.
I
So
mean,
I agree with you. I think he needs to be in the two hole, get your best batters the most at bats.
mhm,
However, at the same time, he batted second when AA was in Toronto,
mhm.
and his first season in 2015 with the Blue Jays when he won the MVP. Listen to this. He batted 297, had a 371 on base percentage, had 41 bombs, 22 runs scored, and 122 runs scored and 123 RBIs.
Oh my gosh. And he was
I
hitting
mean,
second. I mean,
and he was
not even
hitting
like
second.
third or fourth either. I mean,
No, I mean
I feel like
that's what.
that's the best spot for him in the lineup for him to like utilize all of our talent we have in the lineup effectively. I feel like putting him at the two hole is the best spot for
Exactly.
him.
Exactly. But hey, our lineup is only going to get trickier and only going to get
Oh,
clearer at the same time
exactly.
as our off season goes on and we figure out some of these rumors, which brings us into our next segment. Like Turner said earlier, we just got done with the off seasons. We're recording on Friday, December 14th. The winter meetings just concluded, I believe, on Wednesday,
Yes,
if I'm not
sir.
mistaken.
Yeah, Wednesday or
Um,
Thursday.
and so with the winter meetings, the best part about it is you hear all these rumors and you salivate over all of them. You're like, oh my goodness, if we can get him, just imagine. And so that's what we're about to do. We're about to bring you through some of the main rumors that we heard from the winter meeting, starting with our boy, Mitch Haniger from
Mitch
Seattle.
Haniger, yeah, he's got a bunch of control. He's got 2 years left on arbitration. He's a great power hitter in our lineup. He could solve our 4 hole hitter issue with that because that seems like our only like question mark in our lineup. It seems like we are a 4 hole cleanup hitter. He would definitely solve that. He's definitely controllable. He had great stats last year. I mean, you can put him in right field. That would solve our outfield issues too because we got Ender in center, Cunha in left. We can just leave them where they were last year. Don't have to move Acuna up and like I don't know, maybe mess up his juju or mojo. Who knows? I mean, I just feel like if we get Haniger, the asking price is probably going to be pretty hefty from the Mariners, considering
Mhm.
all of the stuff I just discussed. Him being controllable, he's young, he had great stats last year. I mean, I see at least one of our pitching prospects, probably like Soroka or Kyle Wright,
I
Bryce
see a
Wilson.
Kyle Wright.
Yeah, one of those two, and probably I know the Braves said they might be willing to part with Austin Riley in one of these big trades. And honestly, I mean, with the depth that we have already in our major league team, I wouldn't mind it, but I wouldn't want it to come bite us in the butt afterwards with like Donaldson like gets hurt again or he's not having a good year. I mean, we could still put Camargo in, but who knows? You never know what could happen once the season starts.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Haniger is the dream signing.
Mm-hmm.
He would solve pretty much all of our issues. He's not the best defensive wise. He's not as Nick Markakis won a Gold Glove, yes, but I don't see him as a elite defender. It's
Yeah.
hard to be an elite defender in right field. I mean, so I believe Haniger would be good, but like AA said, that we having Acuna and having an Ender, who's probably the best defensive center fielder in the game, in
Mm-hmm.
our outfield. This allows for us to not have to be able to take on somebody who would produce better offensively than they could defensively.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a
But
bunch of
go
upside
ahead.
with that. Yeah, we have a bunch of upside with that. Like we could have him put Haniger out there. Excuse me. Huge power stats. I mean, he maybe definitely not as good as on the defensive side, but like what you said with A said, they probably feel more inclined to bring somebody in with less defensive like stats and more powerful stats, and we could see that happen for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just don't really understand. I mean, it makes too much sense
Mm-hmm.
for him to fit into the Brave system, but at the same time, it's just Seattle feels as if when they come out of the rebuild, he will still be in his prime,
That's true.
and he's got so much control left. They want to be able to keep him. But I
It
mean,
makes sense.
honestly, if you do get him somehow, I believe he would be hitting leadoff for us.
Mhm.
He hit last season. He had played 45 games batting leadoff for Seattle. He batted 333, hit 8 homers, 21 RBIs, 35 runs scored. I mean,
Jeez.
I think you would put him at the leadoff, Donaldson in your 2 hole, Freeman in your 3 hole, and Acuna in your 4 hole.
That's true. We
I
can
mean,
move
batting
him.
cleanup.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I feel like Acuna's got so much pop in his bat. I mean, might as well take advantage of it with runners
On
on
base,
base.
that's true. I
Like,
mean, he had all the home run stats. I mean, he had 26 home runs when he was playing. I mean, incredible amount of home runs for the amount of games he played. But he
exactly.
just, I mean, hitting leadoff. I mean, majority of them are going to be solo shots. I mean, he only had 63 RBIs. So if you just imagine like if we had him in the middle of our lineup, I mean, he would at least have
Hmm.
around at least 20 to 30 more RBIs with those stats.
Yeah, I mean that would be the dream signing. But let's go
Hmm.
on to the next trade rumor we heard, which was David Peralta,
Yep,
the left
Diamondbacks.
fielder from the Diamondbacks. So tell me how you feel about David.
Okay, so I feel like David brings in a lot of upside. It would solve like pretty much it would solve the same issue that Haniger would solve. I mean, he power bat. I mean, we could plug him in at right field. Right, I mean, he played left field, but he can move those pieces around in right field. He's got 2 years of team control and arbitration left. He's 31. He's definitely way older than Haniger, but I feel like with 2 years left, I mean, on arbitration, we're gonna be paying like little to no money for him to be playing, and it's gonna be. I mean, he's 31, but I feel like it would be a good fallback if like we absolutely know we're not going to get Haniger.
Yeah, I honestly believe he would definitely, if we get him, he would be plugged into our cleanup spot. He's just got so much power, but along with that, he's a lefty, so
Hmm.
he adds that another way, being able to mix up our lineup and adding another lefty to
That's
it.
true.
He hit 30 home runs last season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 30
He
home
did.
runs. And he batted, what was it? 300. I
Jeez.
mean, I mean, what
Um,
more can you
no,
want?
like exactly. What more can you want from somebody like that? If we had Peralta instead of, I mean, I'm not knocking Marquez. I mean, he had a career year, probably one of the best years of his career last year. I
Yeah,
mean,
but that's saying something.
yeah.
Marquez had his career year, and Peralta had a career year, and look at the difference.
That's true. Yeah, Peralta doubled the amount of home runs Marquez had almost 20 more RBIs, had a higher batting average. I mean, pretty much every offensive stat Peralta beats Marquez. And I just feel like if we had him, it would have been a lot better for us last year. But I mean, going along into next year, I mean, Peralta, if we have him, it would be a great addition to our lineup.
Exactly. But what I don't quite understand is why the Braves have called the Diamondbacks, and I'm trying to ask about Peralta, but they've been turned away every time.
Hmm.
And the Diamondbacks stated that we're not rebuilding, we're reloading,
Which doesn't make
which
sense
doesn't
because
make too much sense.
they just traded away their probably one of the best hitters in the NL in the past so years to
Honestly,
the
probably
Cardinals.
the best.
Honestly,
And
yeah, stat wise for sure.
he's been in for, I believe, since 2011 or
Hmm.
2012, and stat wise, he's been one of the best hitters in Paul Goldschmidt. But
Hmm.
I understand that they have Jake Lamb coming back from injury, and you'll plug him in at first base, and you'll have Eduardo Escobar at third base. However, if the price was right and I was the Diamondbacks, I would jump all over that. I'm not saying
Exactly.
the Braves should give up. I'm not saying the Braves should give up the same amount of prospects as they could possibly use for Haniger,
Oh,
because, like we
definitely
said,
not.
Haniger being 27 at the moment would be the ideal
Yeah, for
situation.
sure.
However, I still think, and honestly, you could, with the Diamondbacks, you could kill two birds with one stone in a trade by getting a Archie Bradley
Oh,
as a
yikes.
relief pitcher,
Or a
a
Zach,
Robbie
or
Ray.
is Robbie
So I
Ray,
mean,
or a Zach Greinke. I mean, I feel like
is that,
with them moving Goldschmidt, it would make them more inclined to make a move. But it seems like what's being reported is that's the opposite.
yeah, I don't quite understand. I'm not a general manager,
Hmm.
and obviously for good reasons at this point, because I have completely different view than the Diamondbacks. But let's go to rumor number 3, which is what everybody's talked about, is Michael Brantley.
Yeah, Michael Brantley played. He had wasn't he injured a little bit last year?
No, he actually played. This was his first full season
Oh,
for the
okay,
past
okay.
3 seasons.
Okay. Yeah, I know he had a bad injury history. Yeah, I mean, we played his first full year. I mean, it would solve our corner outfield issue and our four-hole hitter. I feel like we get him, he'd probably be around, yeah, four-hole in that general area. I mean, I feel like
Four
it adds,
hole lead off.
yeah,
You can do whatever you want with this lineup
exactly.
at this point.
I feel
That's the
like
thing. If you get a Michael Brantley, a Mitch Haniger, a David Peralta, you can plug them in wherever you want. You can put Freeman at the 2 hole, Freeman at cleanup. You can do Ronald Acuna. Any of the hitters can bat 1 through 4 pretty much. I
exactly.
mean,
I mean, it's just he's a free agent, so we wouldn't be. I mean, the only thing we'd be giving away for him if we got him would be money, unfortunately. But we've got a lot of it. I mean, I remember it being reported before the offseason started, we'd have around 60 million in money to spend this offseason, which would be pretty. I mean, if we wanted to, we could probably sign both Machado and Harper with both of them, but we're definitely not going to be doing that. He said he didn't want to absorbed into any hefty long-term
yeah,
contracts.
that's not AA. He's all about
Mm-mm.
the short term, cost efficient.
And especially with the loaded talent that we have coming up. I mean, we saw Acuna, we saw Ozzy. We haven't we saw some of our pitchers, but we didn't see. I feel like we could have saw a lot
We didn't
more
get
with
a
them.
full
I
season
feel
of
like
them either.
especially Soroka, he was the first guy that played. I mean,
Oh, he was wonderful at the beginning.
for the 4 or 5 games that he pitched, he was great. And then unfortunately he hurt his shoulder. I mean, he was out for the entire year after that. Unfortunately, it stinks for us and for him for sure. But hopefully when he gets back, I mean, with and going off with Brantley, I mean, with the way he could add that dynamic, that power hitting into our lineup, with the home runs. I mean, that was one thing that I felt like we lacked last year. Even though we had Acuna with all the bombs that he hit, I feel like we were hitting less home runs than the majority of the league. And now I mean, we saw the home runs killed us in the postseason. I felt like every time the Dodgers scored a run against us, it was a home run. I mean, it's just
Seemed like that.
get more home runs. It feels like you can win more ball games.
Exactly. Last season, let's see, Michael Brantley had 17 home runs. Along with that, he batted 309.
Oh man, that's nice. That's nice.
I know everyone will say, well, Markakis only had 14 home runs and batted 298, but the thing is that Michael Brantley was consistent through the whole year,
Exactly,
through the whole season.
Mark.
Markakis cooled
Ooh.
off after. I believe, what did I tell you? He batted 253
Yeah, 250.
and only 4
Yeah,
home runs
yeah. That
in
I
the second
mean,
half.
he was incredible the first half. I mean, he was leading the NL them in hits and batting average pretty much the entirety of the first half of the season, and then he drastically dropped off towards the end, which is why I feel like we shouldn't bring him back. Even though how he did last year, I feel like we shouldn't bring him back with his age and with the sort of decline that he had at the end of the year. I feel like it's just a sign of things that come.
We just don't know what type of player he's going to be this
Exactly.
upcoming season.
Exactly.
Are we going to get the first half or are we going to get the second half? I mean, it's a question to be asked. However, I'm not completely opposed to bringing Markakis back. However, I'm not saying he's our top 3, top 4 options.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
I believe he's probably number 5 option.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was great for us last year, but I just think we could do a little bit better. So, but going now, let's talk about some starting pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's been a major thing. There has been reports that the Braves are very interested in Dallas Keuchel, but at the same time, they keep shutting it down.
Exactly.
Mark Bowman does.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Keuchel, he a couple years ago, he won the AL Cy Young, didn't he?
2015.
2015, yeah. I mean, same sort of boat with Donaldson. I mean, he had that one really good year. I mean, Donaldson was still statistically great when he was with the Blue Jays. I mean, you have that guy. You see what he's done in the past before. We bring him along, get him involved with the system. I feel like he can produce those same numbers again. I mean, it's gonna be the price. I mean, is gonna be pretty high to sign him. I feel like, but I feel like if we can get him in, I feel like that adds just another spot. We get our ace starting pitcher to help lead us into the postseason and bring our guys along. It gives us more time to develop our young pitchers in the minors.
But at the same time, it just gives us more depth, like what we've been talking
Exactly.
about. I
Exactly.
mean, You don't have to come in and bring up a Kyle Wright, Ian Anderson all this year because hey, this guy isn't producing. We need to bring someone new in, or you will have a veteran starting the lineup, and we're not asking for a sub 2 ERA or a
Oh
sub
no.
3 ERA out of him. I'm expecting about a 3.5 ERA out of him. But the whole reason of signing him is bringing in a veteran leadership.
Exactly, and that's the big problem with our bullpen. I mean, we had that with Anibal Sanchez. I mean, he pitched pretty darn good for us last year,
I was very
considering
surprised with Anibal.
how old he was and his injury history and everything. I mean, he did great for us. I mean, it was good. It was some veteran leadership, but I feel like we can definitely improve in that sort of aspect. And bringing a guy in like Keuchel, who's been in October plethora of times, he's pitched in the postseason. He knows what the feels like. I feel like getting him would be nothing but amazing for us.
Yeah, I mean, this would be amazing. Along with that, uh, Brian McCann was his catcher for 2 seasons in Houston. So bringing Brian McCann in to catch for him would only kind of encourage
Him
Dallas to come to
exactly.
Atlanta. And I mean, I know a lot of people are like, "Well, we don't want Dallas. He hasn't been that good." But at the same time, hey, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, and he would be a great addition. I
For
just
sure.
for the right price. That's the whole thing. Is
Hmm.
that I feel like we're in the age of where everybody thinks they're worth more than what they're being
Oh
given.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, just look at last offseason. I mean, it took like till like almost January and February for everybody to start getting signed.
Mhm, mhm. I feel
I mean,
like that's
look,
exactly what's gonna happen again this offseason with Machado and Harper.
Harper.
Yeah.
So Dallas Keuchel, MLB trade rumors are saying that he's probably the contract he would get would be 4 years, 82 million, which would be around 21 a year.
Okay, okay.
I'm not totally opposed to that.
No.
However, I believe he's probably asking for a little bit more.
Yeah,
If
I feel like he is too, because I mean, they're probably talking about. I mean, we saw what he did before in 2015. I mean, he was the best pitcher in the whole American League. I feel like they're talking about maybe his upside could be higher, but I feel like with what he's done in the past, like the more recent years, he's been more of like an average pitcher. But I say bring him in. I would not be opposed to this kind of signing at all.
no, I would not. And I mean, the whole reason why I think he's also maybe asking for a little bit more is because MLB trade rumors had Patrick Corbin signed 6 years for 129, but we know now Patrick Corbin got 6 years for 140.
Gosh, yeah, that's
Dallas
only
Keuchel is going to see that and going to be like, hey, wonder what I can get. So I think the
exactly.
4 years is probably right about what he's going to get. He's
Yeah.
30 years old
Hmm.
exactly. So I believe he'll probably get 4 years, maybe closer to 90 million.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah, I can hope.
I mean,
Yeah, hopefully around there.
so I mean, we'll see what they're doing, but he would be a nice pickup for this lineup and a nice pickup as a veteran pitcher.
For sure,
Um,
for sure.
and he's also a lefty, which would allow Fulte a righty. Then you got Keuchel lefty. Then you got Gosman a righty. Then you got Newcomb a lefty, and then you have Soroka, Tukey, Tehran as a righty as for
Exactly.
the
Who
number 5
knows?
hole. But I believe Tehran will be traded at the end of the by the end of the offseason. In my opinion,
Yeah,
he
I
shed
feel
about
like
11. He's
also with pitching rumors. I mean, we've heard the Indians have been
Kluber and Barr.
with Kluber and Bauer. I mean, they seem pretty inclined to move him since they just signed Carrasco to that extension that he got. I mean, I feel like if we're gonna get any trade involved with one of them, Tehran's definitely going to be a part of it, just so we can
Taylor.
clear up more salary. I mean, he has a pretty hefty contract. I think he's set to make around $11 million this next
Yep.
year.
Yep.
So I mean,
However,
clear up.
like you said though, he's not that contract isn't a Robinson Cano type of
That's
deal
true.
where, dude, we got to get rid of this. Teams would probably be willing to take all of it because
Hmm.
he's still a usable pitcher. That's why I was thinking about if, say, the Cardinals come to their senses and are like, okay, we'll trade Ray and Peralta. Hey, we'll throw in Julio Tehran. We'll throw in some like 2 top prospects.
Exactly. I
I mean,
mean, looking at it, for ERA, Tehran had. I mean, with how bad we thought Tehran did, I mean, he still had a sub 4 ERA.
exactly. I found that out the other day. I was like, that is crazy.
Yeah, I know. And he had what was his whip? I'm trying to find it. Oh, it's not saying on here, but I know his whip was probably a little higher because he had so many walks. I mean, His BIP was 217, which is the lowest it's ever been in his career. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it was crazy to think. I believe he had a sub 200 batting average against.
uh-huh.
I believe they opponents batted 171 against him this past season.
It's crazy. I mean, when you think about it, like all we kind of heard about Tehran was about how ineffective he was getting guys on base and then letting him score. I mean, he was just a walk machine last year. Pretty much that was the story with the Braves last year. It was just like bullpen, just walking everybody. I mean, it wouldn't be bad with to get rid of him, but I feel like we could still have him and he could still be effective.
Yeah, he would still be effective. He'd be definitely our number 5 starter.
Hmm.
But I mean, I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, so the opponent's batting average against him was 193, and his WHIP was 117.
Yeah, I think that whip was one of the lowest he's ever had in his career also, even with the amount of walks that he had.
That's the whole thing, is that his walks and his home run problem. I mean, and
Exactly.
it's his first innings. I mean, he would
Hmm.
give up two to three runs in the first innings. Braves would get behind, but then he would pitch for 6 innings and not give up another hit or walk or run.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just he's just inconsistent. That's my only
Very
problem.
inconsistent. I mean, he's always had a hard time pitching in SunTrust Park ever since we moved there. I mean, every time it seems like I saw Julio was pitching at SunTrust, there was just going to be an instant loss because of how ineffective he was at home. But I feel like he can turn it around if we bring him in for another year with us. But there's definitely more upside in getting him, trading him, and bringing in somebody else for sure than
Mhm.
keeping him around.
Yeah. So, lastly, I want to talk about JT Realmuto. What the
Oh
Marlins were
gosh.
asking for him earlier this year. I
Hmm.
believe it was reported they wanted a straight up Ozzy Albies
Ooh,
for
yeah.
JT.
That definitely a no-go for me. I mean, Ozzy before he played in 2017, before he played, he was our number one prospect. I mean, he was stunning when he came in, and he was stunning for sure last year. I mean, there's the good on them because I'm pretty sure like that trade deal was reported like at the beginning of last year. So I'm very glad that we didn't make this move because we saw how effective we were with Ozzy. I feel like now with how he is, we can make a deal for sure for Umuto without having Ozzy in it. So I
Yeah,
know,
because the Marlins came out and said
yeah,
that they have lowered their asking price, but that
yeah,
still, I mean, you're asking for a superstar young player who still
hmm,
hasn't even hit arbitration yet.
nope,
And so, I mean, he's at least got 4 years of arbitration. So, and then JT only has 2 years. He's 27 years old, and that's, I mean, not old for a catcher, but
no,
still, it's hard. You don't want to give a 5 year, 6 year extension to a
exactly,
catcher at that age. I would
definitely
probably
not.
be more likely to consider it if, say, JT was 24 and has been
Oh
putting up his
gosh, yeah.
numbers like this.
Yeah,
But
I would be I would probably be if he was younger, I'd be more inclined to make it like a hefty deal, but since he's only got 2 years left and with the amount of like depth that we have, I mean, I feel like a trade is definitely possible, but
mhm.
it's just like a little iffy in a sort of sense.
Yeah, it's the matter of what the Braves are willing to give up now.
Exactly. And
Um,
also if we don't make any sort of movement with an outfielder plugging in that corner outfield in our 4-hole spot, I mean, we trade for Miro Muto. He could definitely be our 4-hole hitter.
4 hole, 5 hole, something along the lines of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lastly, very quickly, I know this was reported just the other day. The Detroit Tigers are trying to trade Nicholas. Don't kill me for this. Castellanos. Um, he's a right field. He's only 26 years old as a right fielder and third baseman. Had a career year last season. Batted 23 home runs and hit 298. I mean, definitely an improvement. He's awful defensively. He
Oh,
had negative
oh
15
gosh.
runs saved,
Hmm.
defensive runs saved. However, like we talked about earlier, Alex Anthopoulos came out and said that, hey, with 2 elite defensive outfielders already, we can sacrifice somebody who stinks at defense as long as they can put up great offensive numbers.
Oh,
And
I
this kind of fits the mold. I mean,
for sure. I feel like getting him in there, it would be a great, like what we were talking about with Peralta, it would solve the same sort of issues. Again, he's not good on defensively, but like I said, we have Ender and Acuna. They were both incredible. I feel like if Acuna played a full season, he could have been in contention for a Gold Glove. But unfortunately, he didn't. But getting Costello's having his defensive issues in there, I feel like shouldn't bother us as much considering what we already have in the outfield. And if he can perform like he did last year, you're talking about he almost hit 300. He had 23 bombs. He's pretty young too. I mean, it seems like a dream scenario for us if we get him.
Yeah, he's like I said, 26 years old, but his defensive woes, I honestly believe that a lot of his defensive woes came from the Detroit Tigers park. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but that sucker is huge.
It is
And
very
there's
big.
so much room to cover out there to where defenders it's harder for an outfielder to defend there. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't know how else to say it. I
No, I
mean,
mean, yeah, if you have more ground to cover, there's probably more chances of you giving him more runs.
so yeah, so Castellanos would only have 1 year of control left.
Yeah.
So he could be a rent deal until the Braves are ready to bring up Christian Pache or a Drew Waters or something along the lines of that.
Hmm.
But at the same time, he'll be hitting free agency when he's 27. So if the Braves, if he does say get better with the Braves defensively, and the Braves are like willing to re-sign him, they could re-sign him and possibly trade Ender next offseason and still bring up Pache. I mean, they have a plethora of options.
Exactly.
I
And
mean,
that's I feel like it's a blessing in disguise. You have so many possibilities of things that could happening, but if they all happen, you have probably some of the hardest decisions you ever have to make. I mean, deciding what sort of pieces we want to move forward with and which ones we want to turn away from. I mean, it's going to be tough in the future for sure.
yeah, it's going to be tough letting go, but that's what we've got to realize why we have all these prospects
Hmm.
is so that we can improve in the win now. And that's where we're at right now. We're in the win now mode.
Hmm.
Whereas I know a lot of people have called it the Freeman window. Freddie Freeman, he's signed through 2021. So we pretty much have through that time period to let's get a World Series and make sure he doesn't leave.
It's very possible in those next. We're setting ourselves up perfectly to get a World Series title within the 2021 season.
So, well, yeah. So, well, that's it for the first episode for Tomahawk Talk. So, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. Remember, we are sponsored and produced by the Atlanta Sports Page. You can follow us on Instagram at ASP Braves or at Atlanta Sports Page on Instagram. Along for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Diestel Kale, Diestel Kale, Kale. Turner, you want to plug yourself?
Sure, awesome. My Twitter is at M3_Turner. Go ahead and give me a follow as well. Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys giving us your time listening to our first podcast. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Chop on.
Yes, sir.